Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say hello and welcome. Welcome to a fresh, brand new edition of the program ASHFORD GARLEY on Bridge Radio Africa. Today is Friday, June the 23rd, 2023, and we come to you from Lansdowne, PA. Philly, the city of brotherly love. Oh man, let us show who you having a great time tonight as we come to you for the final edition for the week of the program, the ASHFORD GARLEY. And I'm telling you, we've got all kinds of goodies in store for you tonight. Make sure you grab something to drink and get the popcorn rolling. As always, Father God, we want to say thanks. We want to magnify your name. Blessed be your holy name forever. Lord Jesus, we are grateful to you. And with that, we just want to say thank you. Some heard the name. Some heard people talk about them. You've gotten the opportunity tonight. The mastermind, the doctor of law, the medicine of the microphone, the tactic picking of the microphone, the broadcast commissioner, Africa's media do extraordinaire. Direct, c'est tout pas gay. C'est bon blue dans un quoi non tu dit. Basi yon blue. C'est comme we are pelia. Boro blai pare ko yo boro sei. Ye we no muzo no one ye madobo to dry and you adi wapo. Mo Jimmy Adre will cry out Dweblo. He doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion. ASHFORD the giant, the now you know me Garley. Welcome to the show. I'd like to give it out for Emmanuel Garley, my own young brother out of Monrovia, Liberia, to watching us tonight. It's been a minute, Sonny boy. I also like to say hi to Jiman Cisco. Share the video, invite a few friends so that we can together have a great show this Friday night. I'd like to say welcome to my friend and sister, the co-host, Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts. Mrs. Roberts, hello and welcome to the show. Please unmute your device. Okay, as we wait for...
How are you?
Good, better than good as always.
Good
welcome
evening,
to the show.
Everyone. How are you?
Looking good.
I don't know where to start. Happy Friday.
Oh,
thank you all for joining.
Is that Madam Bro?
Thank you for... Wow. What's the wow for my new hairdo?
No, it's the fact that I'm able to see you live on camera.
I know. No, I already told you it's Madam Roberts. You won't start.
Madam Roberts.
You won't start fighting tonight, right? Well, Peter, how are you? How are you feeling?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here with you guys. I always look forward to this conversation to put our voices out there. So it's a good day.
Yes.
Okay, well, let us quickly take a look at the menu. You have to be 21 years old or older to come around the booth. It's the open bar to get some alcohol. We have some palava sauce tonight with fufu. You know, I haven't eaten that in a long time, but it's on the menu tonight. Palava sauce and fufu, and of course we have coconut water. You know, and we also have some dry rice with pakino, you know, pakino oil. You know, call it pakana. You got to see what I need for it. I know. Coach Key, we show how to call it.
They call it pankana. Pankana.
Yeah, pakana. Yeah, you know, and hey, listen, grab something to drink, and also get the popcorn rolling. But Idatus Ada would take a look at the menu, the political menu for the night. Stanik?
Yes, greetings everyone. It's a pleasure to be back one more time. The menu is pretty simple, Ashford. You know, the justice, the former Supreme Court Chief Justice Gloria Scott's story is still in the news. It was reported that today she was denied bail and apparently returned back to prison because per the law, I guess murder is a non-bailable, offense or charge. So she's back in prison. So we're certainly hoping that things will get better. And we also are still debunking the lies told by the Honorable Samuel Twe, Finance Minister of Liberia, and Honorable Eugene Nangwe, who had a live conversation with a list of journalists. Unfortunately, and kind of misled Liberians. So there are several economists like Mr. Lawrence Kennedy, who came and shared with us some of the misinformation that was fed the public, as well as Mr. Boy Kamara, thanks to the Spoon Network, who came on and stated in his last 16 to 18 months as finance minister, what the minister was saying was inconsistent, as well as the public works minister, Mr. Giddings, who came and stated very clearly that, in fact, the CDC have only paved 89.88 kilometers of roads. So that lie that they've built more roads than any government in the past happens to be one that is trending in the news.
Thank you for that menu, and as always, we appreciate you. Godwin, we adore to say, he said, good evening, folks. Last Friday, evening to everyone. Well, let us begin with the former Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia, one-time head of the National Elections Commission, and one-time senator of Liberia. I want to begin with Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, the former Chief Justice of Liberia, woman with impeccable credentials, is sitting behind bars tonight because murder is a non-billable offense. What says you?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Garland. What what I'll say is that it's a sad day in our country when we have nobody to stand up for justice. While it's true we may not know all of the facts in the case, however, the human rights is a problem for me. You take somebody in, you don't charge them, but then you hold them overnight. And this is why her lawyer filed for I hear a lot of people trying to pronounce that word, hippus.
Habeas corpus. That means bring the body. Habeas corpus.
Habeas corpus. And so, I mean, and after doing that, they still went to her house. Did you see that the people that on the PSU, the brigade, and all of the regalia they were wearing for I mean, not innocent, I won't say innocent because I don't know, but for fragile people that were at their home, they have not fled since February. We understand that they were under constructive arrest, and most times you bring the person into the courtroom, and then from the courtroom, from what I know about the law, from the courtroom, when they're found to be suspect, whatever you're charging them with, then you arrest them and take them. But that wasn't done. It was such a spectacle. It just makes you to think, what's the point of it? And I'm gonna rest there because I don't want to get too emotional. That's the other day I did, and people are saying, "Oh, why are you accusing it to be political?" Let we always say we want the law to take its course, and now someone is being held for four persons in a home, and there's nobody to say I didn't do it, and you can't find any reason not to. It's just a lot of questions for me, and I think I'm a little discombobulated right now, but I have a lot of questions, and
Well,
I'm not happy with the results.
Coach Q, somebody said this case has a political undertone. If so, who's behind it, and what's the motive?
Yeah, that's a good place to start, right? What's the motive here? I guess two motives that we're talking about. First of all, what's the motive for the charges for murder? What she's being charged with, and if there wasn't a murder that happened, it was truly a break-in, and there were victims. What's the motive for the government to um, implicate this woman and frame her? And this is why it's so important that we have the rule of law in every country. So when you're first going to bring this type of severe charges towards a person, especially the charge of murder, what evidence did the police put out there? Right? We don't know what the evidence is against her. We don't know. Usually, the police will, in the country we live in, the police, and we follow the same constitution. What the police would do, the police will tell the audience, the public, these are the charges. This is what we believe happened, and we that's why this person's in court. We haven't had that yet. At least I don't know that information, and I've been listening to a few things, and they haven't said this is what we believe the motive is. This is what we believe happened. Just a briefing on the case. We don't have that type of jurisprudence, and that's a problem. If we're going to practice democracy, we have to practice democracy, people. We have to practice where the rule of law works and rule. It's not the case here. So much speculation. That's not good for our democracy. Whether it's the Georgia government who is behind it, or if this woman is truly a murderer, what happened in the home. When I watched the police press conference, they talk about circumstantial evidence. Well, this is a criminal case. This is not a civil case where preponderance of evidence is the standard. It has to be beyond reasonable doubt and what a reasonable human being would think happened. You're not even giving evidence to that end. You're saying there's no way someone could get pepper spray and leave. Well, they can. Um, a, a competent lawyer, any lawyer, can argue how that could possibly happen. They didn't see a break in. That still doesn't tell us motive, what they believe the motive is. So this is a problem we have in our country. We're trying to pretend to follow a set of rules that we don't quite understand ourselves. This woman could, in fact, be a murderer. It doesn't matter what position she held before, what she's done, but let the evidence lead us to where she's going to be held for the reason she's being held. And lastly, on this, um, it shouldn't matter that that person's a stepchild or the person isn't. That really shouldn't matter. If the law says murder in Liberia is a non-billable offense, then it's a non-billable offense. We can't cry about that. We can go and try to amend our constitution and say that shouldn't be the standard for someone being accused of murder, or even it could be even mass murder. But if the constitution says murder is not billable, she's got to stay in jail. Maybe we can revisit and look at the system, but the law is the law. We have to have a country with a rule of law.
Well, that is questions. Lots of questions have been asked. Is it uh, politically motivated? If so, what's the motive? Who's behind this? The former Chief Justice is behind bars tonight. accused of murder. As a matter of fact, four people accused of murder. Talk to us.
Well, Ashford, I mean, there are several speculations out there. There are speculations around which others, I mean, some folks believe that because she's one of the leading lawyer of the Unity Party, and that is why she's being targeted as a constitutional lawyer. There are other speculations that because she stood as an expert witness for a case in London, which Lone Star won about 4 point something million dollars, and therefore she may be a target. In spite of all of these speculations, be it true or false, the fact remains, I believe in law, the prosecution has to make available his evidence to the accused, and that evidence will be used for exoneration or guilt. So it remains to be seen, whether or not that evidence, which I think in law, and I stand corrected, is called exculpatory evidence, which is mandated by the prosecutor to share with the lawyers of the alleged, or I mean of the accused, to be able to go through it. So very soon, I believe motive will have to be established in court for a conviction or acquittal. But as it stands now, what is shocking to Liberians is the fact that this government just allowed people who brought drugs to the country to be set free, and they hid themselves behind a jury system. A Lebanese guy killed a Liberian, and this guy left the country just like that under the covers of darkness. So all of these inconsistencies in our justice system remains to be corrected, and we're hoping that the transparency of justice will be shared and Liberians will see for themselves. Thank you.
Well, Joel, excuse me, justice for one, justice for all. Three missing boys now dead. This government said they were drowned in a river. Up to date, we have not found anybody that resurfaced. And we haven't gotten any closure for the deaths of those three young men. Today, the former Chief Justice is behind bars for murder, along with three others. This woman says she looked squarely in the eyes of the intruder and pepper sprayed him. And according to law enforcement, there was not any sign of break in to the 10-foot fence. She's accused of killing her own daughter. Liberia, what is your take?
The process that they have undertaken to bring her to court, it's what's a little bit mysterious to me. The fact that they didn't, because this is a murder case. And when you have a murder case, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that person committed that murder, and there needs to be motive as well. But when you look at the process that they on which they brought her, there is no murder weapon, there is no real motive, and because she's such a high profile person, you would think that since February they would have even impaneled a grand jury and brought in the evidence and allowed the grand jury to indict her, rather than just randomly choosing anybody to say committed this murder. And I will say this, I mean, and these are some of the, I don't know if these are some of the facts, but some of the rumor that's going around, they didn't say, they said there was no evidence of someone breaking into the house, but there is evidence of somebody breaking out of the house. That's what they've been reporting. Somebody broke through the window bar to make it the stage as if somebody was trying to break out the house. So how do they know that? How do they know that that same window wasn't used to enter? So it's just it does sounds a little bit more political to me than the prosecution are really trying to solve this case. I think at the end of the day, it's going to turn into some sort of political strategy for me for the We Are and these people. I think he will pardon this lady. If not, when I saw the video yesterday, she looks like she's frail, she's ailing. I certainly hope she doesn't die in the custody, because that would not be a good look for the We Are. And furthermore, I think this government has set a precedent on how they themselves will be arrested and tried. So they've laid the groundwork, and I think the opposition, if we, all those in the opposition, should use this as a precedent. Everybody is, there is no boundaries here. The opposition people must use this to bring charges against these people. Thank you.
Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts, she was brought to the headquarters of the Liberia National Police, didn't get charged. She was released, and she was brought back the next day and was charged along with 3 others for murder. What is going on?
For me, after I saw the commotion with the family trying to pull her away or whatever they were doing, but the emotion. I think it was her brother that came through the gate to find out these people are here to get my family. Where does that happen? We're supposed to have a democracy. Like I said, nothing wrong with charging or accusing or whatever, but it's the way that they did it. The man pushing the woman butt. Just sad. Even in this place, it says they're always quick to compare us. When there's a female, they usually have a female officer, either to search you or to escort you, whatever. But we have no decency. We had no respect. You saw the elderly woman, hand in hand with her, I don't know what kind of relatives they are, auntie or sisters, I think. Like they were going to, like the old lady looked like she didn't even know what's going on, but I'm going at least I know I'm going with my sister. And then when they got over there, who knows how they were treated when they were not on camera. It just sends a bad taste it's a bad taste for most of us. And as Joel said, what you do to others, remember when it's your time, that people will do it to you too. So don't say, oh, because we were the former ruling party. Because doing stuff politically, and then the caveat to that, I heard the COP, CDC, COP, whatever they call COP, CDC, or CDC, the young men repeating some words that Jefferson Koji had threatened, even to this current vice standard bearer of ANC or CPP, when he found out that her plate was changed to say fix her too. He started to accuse the person who in that position that issues license plates. So now they're saying things about this case that have some undertone to it. Musa Dean is not in the country, from what I learned. The Chief Justice is not even there. Who gave them orders? There's so many questions. He didn't recuse himself from the case. So, it's just a sad day for our country. Every time people turn on the news from Liberia, it's always some odd thing. Someone who lives in your country, you treat them like dog. The person who is most likely to flee, a foreign criminal, you let them go. Is that reverse?
Well,
That's a rhetorical question.
Coach Q, the children of the former Chief Justice are speaking now. One of the sons said, and quote, "My mother is innocent. My mother is not guilty. The real killer is out there. Why is his mother being charged with murder tonight and she's behind bars?"
Well, again, this is a sad case. Okay, just commenting on our country and where we are right now. Just think about that. If we could just think historically, real quick, America is a country that was based, created on. America is the world's first modern democracy. Let's start there. And it was based on what was called the Enlightenment principle. The Enlightenment principle comes from people who were called skeptics. There's people who did not believe in dogma, right? Speculation. People wanted proof for whatever. So we created a democracy based on that. Whenever there is no justice, justice just means fairness, there is no peace. The sad thing is, we have a country right now where we don't have justice, where we have people who carry themselves as if they are better than other people and that the rules do not apply to them. We say that's people acting as if they're above the law, right? When you have a person like, and this is not going to stop, is the point I'm going to. Jefferson Koji um, threatening people, walking around with a gun and things that he's not allowed to do. People just with the whole license plate thing. These criminals that brought drugs in the country being acquitted of all charges and fleeing the country. Musa Dean bringing charges against Mr. Cummings. We do not have the rule of law. Here's why that's important. There's not going to be peace unless you have fairness. You cannot be selective in how you treat people. If we have a country that's a structured country that follow the rule of law, we see what's happened in this country. Donald Trump's got charged. And the reason why that's significant is because there's no precedent to this. But if you follow the rule of law, you broke the law, you get held accountable. Everyone, anyone that visits Liberia, just go visit. You see how people drive. These people who rep 2 on the plate, the black plates, they'll go in the opposite lane and just keep driving all day, every day. Regular people have sirens on their cars. No rule of law. And we have people who don't understand why that's important. And then you wonder why we don't have investments in the country, why we're a third-class citizen in our own country. Because of these things. You're not going to have a functioning economy when you have that. Okay, you have to pay the police to actually work on a case if someone did something to you, if you're aggrieved. We don't have the rule of law. If we don't have a country that has a rule of law, we're going to continue to have chaos. This is extremely sad, problematic, and chaotic because we don't have people who understand the importance of everyone following the same rules. Very, very important economically, very, very important for our safety and our stability in our country. So whether her kid says she's not guilty, she might not be guilty. But as it stands, the country is very, very unstable because we don't follow the rule of law. Certain people feel like they're above the law and they're allowed to get away with it. Until we fix that as a nation and say, no, the rules apply to everyone, things like this going to continue to happen.
Idatus, the former Chief Justice, complained about several attempts to break into our homes. Some of those which the police played deaf ears until that day in February when Shalomusu was attacked and pronounced dead at the hospital. Today, The mother is accused of murder along with three others. What is wrong with our justice system?
What is wrong with our justice system is that in some way, shape, or form, it has been politicized and influenced by the executive branch in many ways, shape, or form. If you notice that when when the Chief Justice was at the police station, the finance minister was also there. It was reported on the news that the finance minister was there, Samuel Twitt, on the first day that they went and sent for her. So I'm watching the video, but I'm confused. Why is the finance minister at the police station? What does that image look like? What we see today happens to be a sheer reflection of the insecurity that Liberians have to live through, that not even people of high profile can boast if you are in opposition to this government, that you can be protected. This is the everyday life of Liberians. And that is why at a particular time, people have to go back home just to be safe because of the threat of violence. Go look at the international travel advice about going to Liberia. And when we say these things, people say, oh, we are trying to scare people from going to Liberia. No, the facts are very clear. Crime is on the rise. Rape is a problem. Extrajudicial killings are a problem. And so this is where we find ourselves. The Chief Justice did mention that she had gone to the Justice Minister on several occasions. What did they do? They said that they sent a risk assessment team. And the result of that team was it was a low risk. Well, it was a low risk assessment outcome or result. Here we are. The innocent life of a young girl is gone. Peace be to her ashes. Shalom Musu. Personally, I'm looking for justice for Shalom. But you allow Valley Teller to go. You didn't tell the public through what investigative means you used to exonerate him. We're left in the dark. We don't know where Valley Teller is and others who may have conspired to commit this, that led to the tragic death of this girl. All of these allegations have not been resolved in the public's opinion. But yet you've arrested the Chief Justice and we're still waiting. So I guess we'll wait for the case.
So, Joel, is Valley Teller no more the person of interest? We have the former Chief Justice and three relatives of her behind bars for murder. Please unmute your device.
I think from a political strategy perspective, maybe the we are people are looking to say, finally, these people have been living above the law for so long. Here's the red meat for his base. We put them in jail now. Maybe he may, bring his base together. I don't know. But what scares me is the fact that, and I'm going to use a hypothetical situation here. I could be on this talk show talking in opposition to CDC and find myself in Liberia one day just happening to walk by a dead body. And I could potentially be accused of murdering that person. When you have a government that does not follow process, does not understand rule of law, we all become subject to their intimidation. All become victims to their behavior. So the fact that they can't come up with a motive to say why this woman even murdered her child. And the fact that they're charging all four people with the same crime. It's not possible for four people to how many stab wounds does this girl? How can all four of them murder the one person? I mean, with what, one knife, 5 knives, 2 cutlasses? What is the evidence here? I mean, I could understand if they say, listen, we're gonna charge her with maybe manslaughter or something, involuntary. It was a mistake. But murder, I mean, murder is first degree murder, it's premeditated. How can they even prove that? And why didn't they go to a grand jury? Why didn't they go there? This is a high profile case. Why didn't they sit in panel grand jury, take your evidence to the grand jury, and have the grand jury indict? Probably because they have no evidence. This is all a charade. This is all a show. And like I said earlier, I hope she doesn't die in their custody, because this would be very, very bad for CDC. It'll be bad for Liberia.
Now we want to find out who dropped the ball here in the first place. Is it the Liberia National Police? Is it the pathologist? Dr. Rockefeller Cooper is forensic death investigator, and he has been involved in this whole case and previous cases in Liberia. Can we just invite him and get a sense of what is going on, what happened? Did anybody intrude? What is really going on? Please join us now as we bring in Dr. Rockefeller Cooper. Dr. Cooper, hello and welcome to the show.
Yes, Mr. Garley, how are you doing this evening?
Well, better than good as always. God is good.
Okay, yes, I've been following, and so I'm available to answer all of the pertinent questions that you may have, or you and the rest. Well, good evening, lady and gentlemen. Hope all is well on this Friday with you all.
Well,
Thank you, Doc.
tell us about what's going on in Liberia. The former Chief Justice is behind bars for the death of Shalomusu. She, along with 3 others, children are saying she's innocent. She's not guilty. The real killer is out there. And on the other hand, Valley Teller was in fact named person of interest. He's no longer on the list of the Liberia National Police.
You on the phone?
We have Madam Scott and 3 relatives of her in jail.
Correct.
What do you know?
So from the genesis of this matter, Mr. Garley, I decided to, put my expertise and knowledge in the field of forensics to work, simply because I was not too satisfied with how the Princess Cooper's case was handled last year. And based on that, I approached this matter from different folds. So a lot of errors were made. A lot of errors are still being made with the way how everything is being handled. Now, as I break down this, the subject matter as you are requesting, I will, lay out some anchor points so that will all make sense to the quote unquote average Joe. Now, here's the situation. It was alleged that an intruder, when it, entered the premises of Justices Scott. Now, during that incident, a young lady was murdered. At some point in time, an alarm was set. Eyewitness, account states that they could not enter the fence and they could not even enter the main house because, the entrances are locked and the keys are kept within the residence. So that means that even the security guards who were on shift after they've been hired had no means of even leaving the the property as a whole. And needless to say, they were not able to enter the home for whatever reason. Now, let's fast forward a bit. A young lady, the remains of a young lady, it was said that that she was basically clinging on to life when she was taken out, but the evidence in this case can no way, shape or form support that that she was alive or had any ounce or pinch of life in her body when she was taken out. But be as it is, or as it was, she was taken out, and basically she was rushed to the hospital by one Mr. Gizi, Alvin Gizi, I believe is his name. along with others. The first stop at what would be considered as a clinic or some health facility, where they were told that the case could not be handled by them, and so they proceeded on to Redemption Hospital. Now, from Redemption Hospital, the body was given to the family at some point in time by the coroner, which was error number one. And then whilst the family now took the body to St. Moses now received a call that basically when the family went to make arrangements, that they should not give the body should not be given out to the family. That was error number two. Be as it may, again, the body was now within the custody of the government of Liberia, who decided to have a post-mortem examination done. The post-mortem examination that was done is highly questionable. This was conducted on the 22nd of March, and it's because it was not done forensically. That was error number three. And it was not done forensically because in Liberia, the autopsies that are being conducted are not forensic autopsies. And I can challenge anyone on that. Now, the family were told that in 2 weeks, there was going to be a final report. A final report was not given. After the autopsy, Dr. Benedict Cooley, who conducted the post-mortem examination, said that, in fact, there was a lot of bias in the performance of the autopsy, and the body was also manipulated before the autopsy, and I'm going to tell you why. With that being said, for those of you who have read the article that was published on this matter between yesterday and today, a lot of papers carry, which I wrote. If you read, you will have an understanding. Now, the exam, he said that the young lady, before the exam, when he had his press briefing, he said that even though there was some stab wound, but his goal would be to look for the particular stab wound that killed the young lady. When I heard that, I knew that was error number 4. You cannot do that. The minute you say that, it means that it indicates that a form of bias. And I knew already, because I already had information which could not have supported the statement that he made. So that raised a red flag. Be as it may, after the autopsy on March 22nd, Dr. Coley stated that Charlotte Musu, she received a stab wound to what would be considered as the left chest wall by the left breast, and it was first reported by news agencies that that they tried to quote him by saying that there was the stab wound to the lungs, and it caused her to bleed, and basically she bled internally, and some artery was involved. So I wanted to find out exactly, because at this point in time he was being quoted, but that was not being done with any there was no credibility in it, because what they were saying did not make sense medically. So I found his video testimony where he said that basically this young lady got stabbed, and the injury, her intercostal artery got injured, and of course it caused her to bleed internally. That was not possible. It can never be possible, because that be as it is, even if the intercostal artery is injured, that's just like saying if somebody who is let me find a typical example.
So based on your investigation, you believe that the body was tampered with,
and I'm going to tell you why in just a minute, and this is going to be shocking, even though I addressed it. Now, this is what happened. When I knew already that it did not make sense for a stab wound to the intercostal artery. Imagine this, Mr. Garley. We know that like when people are cutting collard greens or potato greens, they sometimes cut their finger. That's just as me telling somebody that this person cut their finger while cutting greens and they bled to death. Even though we're not talking about the same blood vessel, but this is just to let you know how insignificant it is. Besides that, his preliminary findings are inconsistent with the forensic facts on the scene. All of those information I've already made available to the Liberian people. Now, this is what happened. At some point in time, this young lady received approximately 8 stab wounds. A few of them were superficial. However, she received detrimental stab wounds that could basically result into hemodynamic instability. That means it would dislodge the proper blood flow in the body, and she would bleed to death. Now, at some point in time, when the body was taken, when the body left the home, somebody tried to cover up, and what they did was to stitch those vital injuries within your neck. That's why people can feel, for example, they feel their pulse on the neck. You got your carotid artery and your jugular vein. Okay. You also have branches of the heart in the name of the subclavian vessels that lead the arms away. She also received stab. Yes, sir.
You believe that the body was
I'm explaining to you.
Listen, we want to get the fact check. I mean,
yes, sure.
Who killed Shalom Musu? And there was a name first, in the person of Valley Teller.
Yes, I understand that. Let me interrupt you.
Time is not on our side.
You want to have an understanding. We cannot just come up, because there's this thing. Everybody is just saying Gloria Scott.
But
there were 4 individuals.
You have talked for quite some time now, and we still haven't gotten to the point. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I'm trying to lay the facts. But if you want me to jump, I can jump, but you will be confused. But be as it is, you cannot say right now who exactly did it. Prima facie has to be established. All the elements have to be met. We know, yes, that she was murdered. Okay. You must be able to find who the murderer is. Is it possible that all of the occupants can be charged with murder? Yes, it happens all over the world. Okay, because sometimes a person may be an accessory to the fact. So, but it depends on how the case is being handled. But and that will be for the lawyers to decide, and they have to look at all of the evidence, like Mr. Addis stated earlier on, rightfully so. The state has to present, okay, its evidential materials so that the defense counsel will be able to do, and then they have to weigh it, because there has to be reliability and admissibility. On the issue of Valley Tale, as you have mentioned, the problem here is that that needs to be established is how was entry made. That's one of the facts that the Liberia National Police is riding on. Then people are saying that there was, a breaking of the window for occupants to leave the home. How sure are we that occupants also did not, use it to enter? Well, here's the thing. The breaking, you have security. So with the security here, someone breaking and don't raise an alarm or go to, to investigate. The next thing here that we have to look at is there was the statement given where this person was pepper sprayed. Now you have to also look at the size of the residence. A person being pepper sprayed. Okay, they were pepper sprayed, and then what happened? Because if a person is pepper sprayed, that means they become, they are temporarily they undergo visual impairment. So what happened? When this young lady was being stabbed 8 times, like I said, approximately 8 times, was she quiet while she was being stabbed? Okay, so these are the variables that we have to look at as the matter is being investigated. Because when you go back to the autopsy report, what it will indicate is that this young lady was stabbed, and the people in the home deliberately did not try to intervene, as in taking her for medical treatment, which is not, definitely was not the case. You see, so with these in mind, there is going to be a challenge, one, to say who the intruder is, or if indeed there was an intruder. And the way in which that one thing you need to remember as well is the way in which the stabbing took place, there was no there's no sign that she defended herself. So these are just you know, some of the facts that one will have to look at before you render any judgment.
Okay, I want to hold you right there and allow Idatus to come in and the rest of the candidate, the rest of the panelists.
So, Dr. Rockefeller, your explanation left me even more confused because I was attempting to hear you give some definitive breaking points in the case. But I'm left with one, you said the body was manipulated. We don't know by who. Two, you know, she was defenseless, which gives more umph to what the CDC has been running with, that this murder may have been committed.
But did you read the article?
Killing.
Hold on, that.
No. So let me finish, Doc.
I need somebody to please mute the device that we're hearing ourselves.
Right. Somebody needs to mute. Right. So what I'm trying to understand, Doc. I didn't hear you explain defenseless to who manipulated the body and for what purpose. 3, you talked about all of the errors that were committed. But like you didn't point to any specificity for context or that we can look at and say all of these alleged or accused individuals like Valley Teller, Gloria Scott, the daughters, like tell us something definitive in the context of potentially what government should be looking for and who to be looking to, if you can.
Yes. Okay, so yes, it is.
And if we can do that in a minute, that would be good, Doc, because we are on time.
Well, yes. So the government needs to bring in forensic experts to re-examine this case in its entirety, because be as it may, you know, everything is helter-skelter at this point, based on errors that were made during the during the investigation, and then also you know, actions that are being taken currently, as we're seeing, just because it involves a former Chief Justice. I did mention to you, I did give you facts. When you listen to the preliminary report, okay, when you listen to the preliminary report from Dr. Cooley, it does not in any way relate to what I presented to to you just now on the show. So yes, you must have a lot to work with, because there were things that you were not aware of, the actual facts you were not aware of. You were only told basically whatever it is that you heard. But I presented the facts to you. Defenseless meaning that looking at the injuries on her body. The injuries on her body is not consistent with someone who is engaged in a fight with with anyone. Okay, and so that's what we mean when we say there's no defensive wounds on her body.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
So
in law, Dr. Rockefeller, in law, let me hold you right there. In law, based on what you're sharing, if government has made all these errors, that means they may not have a solid case for conviction against the former Chief Justice, based on your professional expertise.
Well, it depends. It depends on the so one thing we need to understand is this: a post-mortem examination is only a part of the puzzle. Okay, you must be able to establish probable cause. You must look at the probative value of your evidential material, as I mentioned earlier as well when I talk about reliability and admissibility. So we still have to see how it goes. But yes, I will tell you, like I said, from the get-go, there were errors because, one, the body was not examined properly. So, and the post-mortem examination, it is the cradle within the, or should I say the core of this investigation. But just like we've seen before, remember last year, a young lady was murdered. She was placed in the back of a building. Blood was dispersed around, and it said that it was tuberculosis. Anyone who has trained in blood stain pattern analysis like myself will tell you definitely that it did not make sense. Even international partners have disagreed with that.
And thank
So
you. I will hold you right there. That bring in Coach Q.
Yeah, so listen to the doctor talk. First of all, it's very informative, but I think when you're talking to a bunch of lay people, we need to probably bring in that a couple of notches. So I'm gonna try to be as lay as possible. It first sounds like professionalism is lacking in Liberia. That's
you're
what.
very correct.
So when we talk about and it goes back to what I said when people are talking about the budget in Liberia, all these line items in the budget, and they use all these acronyms, right? I don't know how much that matters. I really don't know how much that matters. Okay, here's what I want to know though. You talk about intercostal arteries and all that. We're there because this is a felony murder charge. Was there a grand jury that was assembled before this person was charged? Number one. Okay, just a couple of questions. Do you have, I think this is what I was looking to hear. Do you have any information on what a motive might be for this murder? That's number two. You talk about how evidence was gathered and how the body was manipulated. I would like you to tell us, who do you believe manipulated the body and for what purpose?
Okay, good. So let me answer your questions quickly, and I will start with the last. Okay, so we cannot say exactly who manipulated the body, but even and like you said, speaking to a lay person, the body was taken to the morgue at Redemption Hospital. There were multiple stab wounds. Now, the manipulation may have been passive or it may have been active. What do I mean by that? It may have been done in an attempt to stop blood from oozing out of the body, okay? Or it may have been done to actually shallow the wounds on the body. Regardless, in post-mortem examination, there's something we call post-mortem artifacts. Anything that is done to the body afterwards. Okay, it can be from the death scene, the crime scene, or at times stuff even happened in the autopsy suite. The fact of the matter is, nothing should have been done to the body at all. And again, these was things that I addressed in the article, which have been basically you got photographs in there to lay out the facts. So it's impossible right now for me to say who did what. But what I can say is what was done to the body. Who did what? That would be now for the police or the hospital staff to look into, because this is just common sense. It's almost like if if you're in traffic and a person hits your car, and the person decides to back up and put the car in the other lane. Okay, they're doing it with one reason and one reason only, to show to indicate that they did not engage your vehicle. So that is being deceptive. Okay, so that's that. The next thing is with regards to the grand jury. I don't know if if any grand jury was was cited or whatever it is. Just like we all saw on TV where she was taken to the police station, then they went to the court, she was released and then rearrested. I believe it was yesterday, by the sheriff who issued the arrest warrant. That's the same. So I don't know the details of that. Now the second question, I don't recall. So if you can repeat it, I can answer it quickly.
I think it was about motives.
Oh yeah, motive. Well, yeah. So at this point in time, it is hard to say, what the motive is or what the motive may have been. That will be something for investigators who are actually engaging the alleged suspect. They will be the ones to determine motive at this point.
Yeah. So let me close on this.
Fine.
Yeah. So let me close on this.
You got to.
I didn't.
Yes.
I was just putting it.
All right. So, Coach Q, Ms. Brooks, I guess it's monitoring the time.
Answer your question. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
Is
I
my
said
time or
quickly,
not?
before you go, Dr. Rockefeller, can you tell us the name of your paper that you reference?
So I actually, there are two. Yeah, if you go to independent newspaper, you should see it on there. It's called Revelations of the Shalom Musu death case part 2. Because I have it in series. Hopefully part 3 will come out as we move along. But yes, if you go to the independent probe as well as a New Dawn newspaper online, you should have the online versions.
Okay, go ahead, Pastor Idatu. Thank you.
All right. So Doc, thank you for the information.
I think that was when earlier it was supposed to be Joel.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't really have a question. I mean, I've been listening to. Thank you, Dr. Rockefeller, for clearing some things up. I think I don't believe, with all the errors that the prosecution and the LNP have made, I don't believe their intent is to really keep this woman in to charge to have her found guilty of murder. I think the fact that, like in Liberia, murder is a non-billable offense. She's already proven, she's already guilty before even going to court. So I don't know if anyone of you have ever seen the Liberian jails. I mean, spending one day in Liberian jail is probably like spending 10 years. So if she's in there for the next 3 months, I mean, that's humiliating enough. That's torture enough. And I think that's the real intent here. She's not going to be found guilty of murder. I mean, let's face it. There is no, based on all the evidence here, there is no, she's not going to be, even, let's just say she did it. The process that these have undergone here is flawed. They don't have a motive. They rushed it. They did not impanel a grand jury. I heard the chief prosecutor yesterday say they did not impanel a grand jury.
Yes.
If they had impaneled a grand jury, she would have been arrested, and the court would not have let her free. So there was no grand jury. This is just them rushing to lock her up and keep her in prison.
Precisely.
For 5 or 6 months while she's going through this trial. And like I said, I hope she doesn't die under the care, because Liberia prison is not, I don't know, it's not what we think it is. American prison is bad, but Liberia prison is a hellhole. So
yeah.
That's it.
Thank you, Joel.
So what is really going on here? Dr. Cooper, Idatus. At one point, Valley Taylor was fleeing the country. He was spotted in Nima County and then brought back to Monrovia, and Jefferson Koji. I'm not a fan of Jefferson Koji, but this guy name is mentioned, and they're saying this guy was in fact the guy who instructed Valley Taylor to commit the murder. Police are saying now that Valley Taylor is no more the person of interest. Now they are holding the mother and 3 other relatives for the death of Shalom Musu.
So
I know that the Cooper, you said that you couldn't speak at the time, but now you are in a very comfortable position where you can speak, and you know a lot of things that will point to the killer or the murderer.
Yes. So let me just chime in. First and foremost, as a doctor, I have to, I don't get tied up in the politics. We had a promising young lady who, who lost her life, okay, in a very gruesome manner. But here is the problem, Mr. Garley. Errors were made from the beginning that's going to compromise the case. There are so many things that the defense counsel can rely on, and they can ride this case as a donkey from Monrovia straight into Jerusalem if they know what they are doing. Also, if the government decides to bring in the rightful people with forensic training, they could secure a conviction. But be as it may, there could be a hung jury in this matter, because, like I said, there's so many issues. Let me just give you an example. So at some point in time, DNA. I heard that DNA samples were collected from occupants. Now, I mean, you know, what is the reference sample that is being used to cross-reference those? I mean, those DNA samples that were collected. Was anything collected from the scene? Would the court allow it to be admissible given the fact that the crime scene was contaminated and the DNA samples were collected after the fact, meaning after the scene, you know, the house was not barricaded. So there's so many things, and I don't want to be the enlightener on this, but I just gave you two critical facts here. This case, you know, based on the mismanagement from the beginning, I'm afraid that we may not see a positive outcome based on law and facts. Okay, and I'm saying this because, you know, in developing countries, people can flex and they can decide to just do what they want to do. But be as it may, there's so many errors. And yes, the reason why before I said I couldn't speak is because, one, the autopsy had not been done. I was already aware of some things that had transpired, and I did not want to be the one to enlighten the individuals who are going to conduct the autopsy or go to the scene, you know, because then there will be a form of bias. And given like I said, I'm not pleased with how cases have been handled before, so I was not going to show a limelight on that. Valley Tyler, with everything that had transpired, first and foremost, he should have been examined forensically. So when we talk about forensic examination, we don't only do it on the dead. A person must undergo clinical forensic examination. That was not done. So the possibility of you, you know, because also remember now, Valley Tyler also has his rights, his fundamental rights. So the government failed to have examined him forensically in order to establish any connection with this, you know, with the scene. That in itself was, I mean, you know, it caused a serious problem in this case from the get-go. So those were some of the reasons as to why I did not, you know, speak to some of the questions that you asked earlier, Mr. Garley.
Well, Joel, you were very clear when you said that you believe there'll be a certain point in time where the government would just executive clemency to Mrs. Scott, and then the case would just die a natural death, and you're hoping that she doesn't die in jail because you feel that she doesn't look too well now. But then, what would then be the justice for the late Charlotte Musu?
Look, you know, I'm listening to Dr. Rockefeller, and he himself admit that the crime scene has been contaminated. There are so many errors. There is a lot of flaws in this case. So right now, the government case itself looked like a conspiracy theory. You know, because how could they come into a house with, I mean, such a high-profile case that they didn't protect the crime scene, call in people if they were really serious about this case, protect the crime scene, call in real experts if they really wanted to find out who murdered this child. And look, from what Dr. Rockefeller said, it sounds like maybe Charlotte was sleeping when she died. There was she didn't put up any fight. That's what he's explaining to us here tonight. And we don't know the facts. To be quite frank, this case is all about politics. And I think if we follow the politics, we'll find out who murdered Charlotte.
But the former Chief Justice says she looked the person squarely in the eye and pepper sprayed them.
Yes, that is exactly what she said. I mean, that to me, when I heard that, it sounded bizarre. It just because.
So, but then she should be able to identify the intruder if there was one.
Well, yes and no. When you think about the Liberia, the houses, come on, it's at night. most people, I don't know if the intruder even turned on the lights. Were all the lights on in the house? How did he know which rooms to go into? How did he know where Shiloh was? So unless he had unless this was an insider who knew where the house was. I mean, what part of the house to go to. But we don't even know if a generator was running. Was there current in the house? Did they use candles? How did he find her? How did she see? How did she see the intruder? There was a lot of questions that still needs to be answered. So I'm not exonerating Gloria Scott. I'm just saying the process that they have used. When you try to convict somebody of murder, you can't just use conspiracy theory. It can't just be, I feel like you murdered her because I can't find evidence that anybody else did it. That's not how you bring a case to a jury. You have to bring that case. I mean, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. You don't have a murder weapon. You claim that somebody exited the house through a window. But why would somebody put in all that effort to cut a window with a cutlass?
Well,
there's too many mistakes here.
Well, that was Coach Q and Letty. Before I go back to Dr. Cooper, if you saw the intruder and looked them squarely in the eye, were you asked by the police as to identify this person? Why she's behind bars?
So
Right.
all of the questions we're asking. Oh, sorry, was that question for me or Miss Brooks?
Yeah, for you, that is then Mrs. Brooks, Mrs.
Right.
Roberts.
So all of these questions we're asking, I believe, this is where the court proceedings or the hearings rather will be able to discover who is telling the truth or whether or not the story has been made up. So but these are very relevant questions, but just thinking about someone who is facing an assailant may be in a state of trauma, shock. He or she may not be able to vividly recall all of the intimate details of the crime, but may have some major knowledge about what is happening. But having said this, what is yet confusing me under the legal process is in a capital offense that they claim is non-billable, for that to happen, it should be impaneled by a grand jury.
Absolutely.
But a grand jury was not impaneled. But then there is another penal code law that says that, listen, we hear what you say, but to release this person, is a violation of this penal code law. But at the same time, Judge Baco, that he carried a case to, he said his court does not have jurisdiction to issue bail. All right? With respect to this whole capital murder thing. So it's I'm not a lawyer, and I'm hopefully we can get a lawyer to come on to kind of clarify these things. But in the space of public opinion, it just kind of leaves everybody, quite frankly, confused as to whether or not this is politically motivated or it's intended to resolve and find the actual murderer of Jallow Musu.
Mrs. Roberts. Coach Q? Okay. Mrs. Roberts?
Yes, I'm here. I also have another question. Why they have all these people in jail who buries and who's going to bury the young lady? And when are they going to turn her body back to the family?
Okay, Coach Q?
I don't know who, but I'm asking you, Dr. Rockefeller being a...
You will answer that question following Q's input. Q?
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to what I said earlier, the lack of professionalism and systems in place in Liberia seems like it's a problem here. The fact that there are no defensive wounds leaves so many questions as to what's going on. Okay, this is why it's important that we don't have lawmakers making $15,000 a month. We need to pay professionals and run the country as it should be ran if we want to have the country that we are asking for. Right? This is why we need critical thinking taught in school. How is this woman in bed, and how did Musu Scott What told her, prompted her to grab a pepper spray? Did she hear commotion? If she heard commotion, by which means there's no defensive wound. So there couldn't have been a fight. So what really happened? So there are so many questions. I guess during the discovery stage of the case, we're going to find out what really happened or the evidence. This is why in real countries, the police will give a briefing of what happened. We're speculating right now. The reason why
I like
there
that.
are reasonable doubt is a standard set in real countries is because that's a standard that will justice needs. That's the standard that
Yeah.
justice needs. So all this speculation is just really doesn't matter. Liberia's not. You can't trust it. Yeah, we're gonna do a forensic. What forensic examination? No one follows any rules in Liberia. Everyone cuts corners. If I have a cut on my toe in Liberia, I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't even know if that's a real doctor. So
Thank you.
what are we talking about over here? So it's just everything is speculative, and it's just
Thank
it's
you, Q.
sad. We don't have a country.
Thank
We need
you.
a real
What,
country.
Dr. Reckenfellow, I will give you the 3 minutes to respond, and then the additional 2 minutes to give us a partner statement, as we have 15 minutes together here.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, Joel, I know you kept talking. You kept looking at this or addressing this matter from a political standpoint. But I would like to suggest that you read the article, which I just gave the information of Mrs. Brooks, and hopefully you will get some enlightenment from it, and it might have you to be more objective. Now, in all things considered, Ashford, I think it's best. Let's wait and see the different evidential material that will be put forth, and then we'll see how the defense will respond, and then we can chime in on it. But I must say this though, which I didn't say, and this is why I was trying to break this thing down earlier to help with the level of confusion. One thing you should know as well, Coach Q, is that when this young lady was stabbed, she was dragged into the bathroom. If you read my article as well, that is addressed in there also. So the thing is, we need to look who. That means now we're looking at who inflicted the injury, the fatal injury, and who was it that that dragged her to the bathroom. Okay, and then now since Mr. Garlow was asking about motive, now we can start now to look into the whole concept of motives. You see, so these were some of the occurrences that took place on the scene that a lot of people, most people, did not know about. So let's be careful how we just try to assign. I know, yes, everybody is tired with this government, with this current regime. We want it out, but let's be careful with how we're looking at it and just trying to point towards, politics. So with that being said, I think, I would submit at that point. Not unless if there's any other question for me.
Mr. Garley, before he goes, well, yeah, while he goes, but even in the press, Bonnie Talley had bruises and cuts, his eyes, something with his eyes on his own baby naming program. He couldn't go to it. How is it all of these things are just left without emphasis, and you just tell us, oh, based on the height of the gate, nobody broke in, and all of these, when they already said from the onset that somebody may have stayed, stayed after doing some work in her home, and none of these are addressed. No, it's not parallel.
Yes.
It's just common sense.
No, Mrs. Brooks, you are wrong. You see, now you are getting into speculation. Valley Tyler may have had bruises from bumping his hand on a building on Broad Street. His eyes may have been red from, going to the beach and swimming with all his goggles. You see, this is why I said earlier, I don't know if you heard me or not, when the issue was raised about Valley Tyler, he should have been examined forensically, not just invited to LNP. So, and again, I'm not supporting anyone or any side in this matter. Okay,
But here
But
is
my
my thing. I'm
job is
sorry,
just to lay the facts
Dr.
out.
Rockefeller. Dr.
Dr.
Rockefeller.
Rockefeller,
He was
Dr. Rockefeller.
He was implicated. He wasn't just any Joe Blow. There are 10 men. They didn't choose 10 men or the other 9 men. They chose him. So with him being implicated and all of these speculations, then he should have been further examined in any way, whether it's by a private detective or just the regular detective that the Liberian detective, the LMP. But whose side are they on? You said don't make it political. We're not.
No, but here's the
It's
thing. Yeah,
nonsensical.
but you need to ask yourself, Mrs. Brooks, who you said they brought Valley Talent. Who was it that mentioned the name Valley Talent? And what was the evidence that was put forth to state emphatically indeed? As a matter of fact, at the LNP headquarters, Justice Scott was asked about this Valley Talent in the name. And what she said was, in Liberian parlance, y'all go ask the person or people who mentioned it. So you see, this is why I'm saying to you that we cannot just start to speculate. You see,
But Dr. Rockefeller, you are not being objective as well. You are speculating here. From what?
How is that?
Well, because you are discounting the fact that you've already said Valley Taylor could have busted his hands on Broad Street Wall. You don't have no evidence that he did that. Right?
No. Listen, that statement. I was being rhetorical because Mrs. Brooks was speculating. So, but the point that I'm making here, Joel, is this, and I addressed this earlier. I'm sure you heard me. The issue here was because Mrs. Brooks is here in the United States. She did not see. I don't mean to be condescending anyway, but she did not. In all fairness, she's saying like her observation of Valley Talent on right. So that's why I'm saying that what should have happened here, Joel, was okay. This man's name was mentioned. Why was his name put forth? If that's the case, okay, he needs to be examined. And the problem, this is what Coach Q said. Professionalism is lacking in the country. We have a deficit. Okay?
All right,
yes.
Quick question for you, 30 seconds.
I hear you
30 seconds, Doc. Joel, 1 second. 30 seconds, Doc. From your professional analysis, are you stating for the record, based on everything you have looked at, this crime may have happened within the home and not by an intruder?
Yes, the forensics point to that at this point.
That's what he's saying. So, but and at the same time,
I just want to get it really clear.
Okay, wait. I'm getting 2 questions from 2 people. So let me finish with and then you.
I gotta run. There's a statement, and that's what he's been leaning towards. That this is an inside job. So, but at the same time, you're asking everybody to forgive the police and the prosecution for being grossly incompetent. We're talking about a murder charge. You can't just use conspiracy theory. You have to have
No. Did you read the article? Okay, the article has facts.
I'm listening to what you're saying here.
We haven't read the article yet.
Okay.
I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm coming to my conclusion based on what you're saying right now. This is not an article. So unless something else, you have some real evidence in the article that nobody else knows, then I will go read the article. But
I think you should.
You are making me want to have sympathy for the police department because of their ignorance and their incompetence. And I'm sorry, you don't give somebody a murder charge and you feel sorry for the process. No, the process is the process. That's why it's there.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank
you, gentlemen and lady. Dr. Rockefeller, Tom has caught up with us. I will give you 1 minute to give us a closest statement, and then we can.
Okay, my closest. I'm gonna use that time to respond to Joel. So, Joel, this is not asking for sympathy of the Liberia National Police. I already mentioned errors that were made. So, to assume that I'm asking for sympathy, it is non-supportive. What I'm saying to you here simply is this: the errors that were made, and the issue at hand here is proving entry. You see, when you are looking at a suspect, you must be able to triangulate, put the suspect on the scene, and have that relationship between the suspect and the say the victim, or the suspect and the scene. That is the problem. And that's what I said, in as much as, okay, everybody, like I said, people may want to look at this case based on, from an emotional standpoint of view. We have to look at the actual facts. The actual facts. You see,
But
I'm
you have
not
not
going
been
to
to
like,
Liberia, Dr.
Thank you,
Rockefeller.
Doc.
Have you been to Liberia
yes,
to look at his
Thank you,
face?
Dr. Rockefeller.
no, but you go. I've not been to Liberia. This one, but the facts that I'm presenting cannot be refuted.
Thank you, Dr. Rockefeller. Thanks for coming in tonight, and you did a good
Thank you,
job
Doc.
trying to kind of
Sure,
explain further about the kids. We hope to have you back on some other time as
So,
we uh, dive deeply into this whole saga. Thank you.
sure. Thank you.
Thank
The
you.
voice of
thank
Rockefeller
you, Dr.
Cooper,
Rockefeller.
investigative forensic uh, doctor, pathologist, making his presence felt tonight on Bridge Radio Africa, ASHFORD GARLEY Live. As we conclude tonight, let us not take closing statements, beginning with Coach Q.
How much time do we have?
We have less than 3 minutes, so you
No.
got 30 seconds.
Okay. This is clearly a crime of passion. You don't stab a person 8 times that you don't have some connection with. That's just criminology, criminal justice 101. Okay. We don't know what the motives are here. I think that's also very important. We cannot speculate when it comes to capital crimes, when it comes to felonies, when it comes to murders. Too much speculation going on. Professionalism matters. Those people who do not understand that, the reason why we need structure, we need school, we need accountability, this is why you need that. So when we say, what was the forensics? How was evidence lifted? All that matters. It takes a professional to know a professional. We need people who take
Thank you, Coach.
pride. Let me close here. We need people who take pride in their job.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you so much. Okay, Joel Dennis.
Well, like I said when the show started, I still believe it's political. This is it's nothing but politics. So this government has shown us the way to prosecute future bad actors in government. So if Gloria Scott can go to jail without being bonded, George Weah can go to jail, Samuel Twer can go to jail, they all can go to jail. So we look forward to a good future. This is a good precedent that has been set. I think it's okay. We can live with it. I'm okay with it.
Thank you, Joel. Okay, Mrs. Lexi Brooks Roberts.
Yes, let me start my time. I just want to thank Dr. Rockefeller for coming on. While it's true he cleared some things out forensically, but there's still too many questions. And I know he wants to be neutral, but there's no way we can walk away here with such mindset. I will read his newspaper later, but again, professionalism, taking the time to do things so that everybody knows you did it well, and we won't have all these questions. And again, to put 4 persons in jail, leave the body on done. Who buries her if they're not billable when she lived with this lady her whole life? What's the point? It doesn't make sense. And I don't think you even need to be a lawyer to know this.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Idatu Sade, your 30 seconds. Stop now.
Well, one thing I know is that justice is needed for Shalom Musu. It is my hope that whilst others may think, as Dr. Rockefeller, that it is an inside job, I hope that conclusion can also be informed by a forensic analysis of the crime scene. Anything short of that, I still have questions in my mind. Thank you. Thanks to all of you librarians for listening.
Okay, well, Coach Q, and you that's it. By the way, Joseph, you might bring a little shop the other day.
Exceptionally, and his picture
That's
has
not
certainly
Was that
caused people
really
to
him?
go into a fracas.
Coach
Well,
Q,
they're gonna keep
Was that
photoshopping him. Maybe they'll
really
Photoshop
him?
him in space.
Exceptionally
Was
handsome looking,
Pastor
vibrant.
Datus, did you look at? He normally crosses his, like I went to the pictures. He crosses with his right leg. This one is the left or the opposite.
Can you imagine now?
Whenever he
Is he
His
a
does
left
robot?
leg
something,
is
The
it's
not
only
the
thing he
working.
hold
opposite.
like
That's a
that only his
prime
left
second
leg, used
of
to
a
cross.
stroke.
Oh my God, AFC, CDC folks,
I
man,
didn't,
you're
I
going
didn't
to
even
you
know.
guys kill
Photoshop
me.
I didn't even know
a
that
Can you
Patrick could cross
imagine,
his legs
Joel?
there.
Yeah, a whole human being only got one way to cross his legs.
I ain't seen the Patrick could
Photoshop on
cross
top
his
of a
legs.
palma tree.
but that just I mean,
Pastor
why there was
Datus,
no
I
video
know
image? I mean, when I saw the
yeah.
a still picture, why? I mean, we didn't see any video with a very powerful suit on.
It's called
Listen,
editing.
right? Every time Ambassador Boyka scores a point, ANC
point
or
to
CDC
score.
look for something, right? So right now, the new standard is only video. Anything in still photos, we won't see it. The new standard now that video. All the still photos we've been
It's
seeing
always been a
in
standard.
Banga, other places, they all Photoshop.
And he
Since,
looks
since that is the new
slimmer. He
standard now,
doesn't look like him.
we'll just be looking like a video. Listen, you gotta get past, this
I wish
petty
we would talk about
politics.
is
Let's
he
engage
in
in
Liberia?
substance debate.
Is he in
Huh?
Liberia? Is he in Liberia?
He's back in Liberia, and that picture was taken
Where
at
did
the
he go?
airport.
Oh, is that
At the
airport?
airport, Ghana. That picture
Whatever
was
he
taken
did,
at the airport.
whoever did that
Tell me,
magic,
I got a submarine I can put him on.
that person did
Okay,
a
folks.
He
great
is
job.
going to look sharp
Yes,
at the
you
back.
did.
More coming.
Okay, folks. That's all the time we have to be with you. God willing, we'll be here Monday with a fresh, brand new edition of the program, Ashford Garley Live. Until then, folks, tough times don't last, tough people do. And the height of a man is never known until he rises because there's no second chance to make that first impression. But see, young blue. See, can we are yours truly, the medicine of the microphone, Africa's media doobie doo extraordinaire. I'm Ashford Garley. Have a great weekend.
Shalom.